So as you can see here, here's your modern ribbon style interface. You'll see me go through some of these ribbons here, such as part setup. I'm going to set up my machine. I can create my features. Okay, we can talk about tooling. Okay, and then apply our operations and simulate and verify our program. So what I'm going to do first, if I go to File, Imports, you can see the solid models that we support. Okay, so whether you have a SolidWorks file, an SLDPRT, a Creo file, NX, or just a dummy step file or a Parasolid. So I'll bring in a Parasolid that I have, and it comes into the programming session. So you can see here, let's go ahead and set up my part. So if I go to Part Setup, there's my part that I want to machine. If you can see, this is how we add a stock. So we can add a stock from a block, which is what I'm going to do. We can add a stock from a bar, or a stock from the solid in the workspace, or even an STL file, possibly even from another op. So let me add a stock from block. Okay. As we alter the dimensions of the stock, you can see it dynamically change in the workspace. So it's a nice little feedback system of setting up our stock. Auto size will just take the max XYZ dimensions, and let me just add some facing amount for this demo. So let me hit OK. Now my workpiece is set up. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to open my machine. So if I go to machine setup, let's go ahead and browse for, so if I browse for my machine, let's go ahead and open our machine file. So you can see here, what we obtain from the machine tool builders are not only their CAD solid models, not only their OEM CAD solid models, but we also what the engineers also utilize is the kinematics of the machine. So we get all the stroke diagrams, we get all the axis limits, etc., etc. So you have your whole digital twin, you have your whole machine tool here in ESPRIT. So let me open up. Let me open up the machine in ESPRIT. It comes into the programming session here. Next, I'm going to mount a fixture. And the fixture I'm going to mount is going to be in the form of a vise. So we actually ship a lot of these standard vices upon installation. So if I browse for a certain vise, let's go to Kurt, for example. You can see a nice little preview here. So an awesome programming session, an awesome feedback system for your fixture solid model that you're going to merge into ESPRIT. So let me just choose that Kurt vise there. Let's go ahead and open that up. It plops in the middle of the table there. We can also, by the way, turn on and off, mask on and off certain components in ESPRIT. So I can make the machine transparent as well, etc., etc. So let's make the machine transparent, get into a nice view here. And we can also, shift this vise around. We can rotate it however it is realistically on the machine floor. So let me hit OK. Last but not least, let's mount my workpiece. So when I mount my workpiece, let's get it into position here. So we can also verify that my workpiece is in position by opening and closing, the vise jaws. So now my workpiece is set up. My part is set up. Let's talk about tooling for a bit. And again, this is worst case scenario. We're starting from scratch. We're opening our machine. We're setting up our workpiece. We're setting up our work holding. This can all be saved as a template, and this applies for the tools as well. So this can all be saved as a template. So let's zoom into the head here. Let me just start from scratch. Worst case scenario, I have to build an end mill. So let's go to my tooling ribbon. Let's build an end mill. Let's go ahead and reset everything. Just so you know what this tooling page looks like. We can, as an example, start with some general settings. 1-inch end mill. Let's skip ahead to my cutter dimensions. If we change certain values of the cutter, you can see a dynamic feedback system here in the workspace. So it's a nice way of building your tools. So if I like the way that tool is built, let's hit OK. And then lastly, let's go ahead and change the holder. So I can simply browse for a tool holder solid. And then again, same kind of concept as the fixture files. We ship a lot of these standard tool holders upon installation of ESPRIT. So if you're using a Cat 40 holder, I don't know, Kennametal, for example, we can browse for the exact tool holder, okay, that we have in our machine setup. So when I hit OK, there we go. Nice, quick, and easy. If you want to change it, or if you did change the holders, okay, we can browse for, another holder, okay, realistically what you're using, okay, out there on the shop floor. So nice, quick, and easy, programming session to change out your holders and set up your machine. Okay, so if I like these tools, I can have a tool list in ESPRIT saved out with 20 tools. I can have a tool list saved out just with one tool. Okay, so that's what I've actually just done. I'm going to open up a tool list that I'm using. Okay, you can see a nice little preview of your tool list as well. And this is just Windows. You can have a nice little preview of your tools. So let me open that up. Okay, the tools will come into your machine setup here. Okay, and again, this can all be saved as a template. You can start with your machine, you can start with your Kurt Weiss and a tool list and just begin programming your new part. Okay, so we can get ahead into programming the parts. Now we're starting to get into the topic of feature recognition. So let me just grab all the pockets of my solid model. Okay, there we go. You can see what it's picked up. Okay, without going into too much detail, you can see that it's picked up the whole part, all the pockets, the boundary that we'll use for facing, by the way, and then a couple slots of different sizes, and then some primary and secondary pockets, okay, on this part here. So again, this is worst case scenario. Let's go ahead and choose my feature. Let's go ahead and face the part. So go to my milling ribbon. Let's go ahead and do some facing. Okay, let me just reset everything. Let's all go over how to create a facing operation. So I can just name some general settings, main facing. Let's go ahead and choose my tool. Here's my tool list. As I choose my tools, you can see it dynamically show up in the workspace here. So a nice little way of showing the size of the tool relative to the area we are machining. So I'm going to choose my face mill. Let's just enter some sample feeds and speeds. If I move on to strategy, we have full control. So we can, you can choose your machining strategy. Do we want to do a standard default zigzag motion during facing? Do we want to maintain a climb cut? Okay, one pass, yes or no. Okay, bridge movements. Do we want smooth arcs during transitions? Sure. So I can have, you have all this full control over your facing toolpath, step over, etc., etc. Total depth. Okay, do we want to leave some stock allowance, some material for a finished pass? Okay, and then links. So we even have control over the whole machine tool. So these are going to be your rapid moves or your movement from tool change. Okay, so do we want to go down then over? Do we want to rapid down and then feed over? Okay, so this all looks good. I'm going to leave them as default. Let's hit OK. The part has been faced. And we can go ahead and simulate, okay, and verify what we've just done. So you can override the speed. You can speed it up a bit. Okay, we see our simulation window here. What axis is moving? Is it a feed or rapid move? Okay, the spindle speed and feed rate as well, and the operation progress. So there we go. The part's been faced. So again, like I said, that's worst case scenario. If you like that facing toolpath, you can even save it out. So if I have a folder on my desktop, let's say, I can have a folder on my desktop. Okay, I can have a folder on my desktop called, I can create a new folder. Okay, let's just name it example processes. And we see this all the time. Customers save out processes for different material, for different parts. So if you like that facing process, I'm just going to simply just drag and drop it onto my desktop, okay, so I can recycle it for other parts. So let's say you come back next Monday morning, you have a new part, you open up your template with your tools, okay, with your machine, with your work holding, okay. So all you do is throw in your part, you create your features using automatic feature recognition, and you can program the part with the facing process that I like. Okay, so that's what I've just done. Parts been programmed. That's what I've just done. I've created some processes that I'd like to use for this demo, for this example. So let me open up my folder here. So let's face the part. Let's go ahead and open up a pocketing process for this slot, okay, that I always use for slots. For this slot, this slot is of a different size. It's a little longer in X. So what I can do, I like that slotting process. I can just simply right mouse click copy and then right mouse click paste onto that bigger slot, and that slot's been programmed. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish up programming this part. Let's drag a nice pocketing operation with two operations, a rough pass and a finish pass. Okay, and then let's go ahead and recognize some of these holes with hole recognition. We can set some filters for recognizing holes. So let's hit OK. You can see the nomenclature of the holes are interesting. So it's a countersink hole, diameter and depth. Okay, so I have a nice countersink process that I always use for countersinks. Okay, we're always going to spot, we're always going to drill. And then last but not least, let's go ahead and choose all the features that I want to deburr, that I want to chamfer. So I can choose all those features. Let's go ahead and open process. And let's choose a nice chamfer process that I like to use. Okay. So the part's been programmed. We can also see, okay, we can also see that, you know, in my operations page, I can see the current removal, okay, or the current state of the stock. You can see that after the rough pass of the pocket, we still have some corners to clean up. So it's another way of verifying, another way of, yeah, basically confirming your toolpath there. So I can even play from the pocket. Okay, so I don't have to play the whole thing. Let's slow this down. Let's slow this down. So we see some profit milling going on here. We see the entry move there. Profit milling is our high-speed machining strategy. Okay, it's our high-speed machining strategy developed by us. Okay, it's not a third-party. It's not a third-party strategy. It's all developed by us in our headquarters in Camarillo, California. So we see some corner picking going on. Okay, we see the feed rate spiking up as well in those corners. Okay, so the part's been programmed. So let's say even that we want to move this to another machine. Let's say the 3-axis mill is occupied. We want to move it to a horizontal mill. Okay, so what I can do is just simply go to machine setup. Let's change out the machine. Let's change out the machine to a horizontal setup. Okay, here's my horizontal. Let's open that up. Let's open that up. So here's my horizontal. Obviously, we have to add a tombstone. So let's go ahead and mount a fixture. Let's add a tombstone. So let me browse for some tombstone files that I have. Okay, so whatever tombstone setup you have, that's fine. Let's browse for that tombstone. There we go. And what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to right mouse click copy or right mouse click cut that curve vise with the workpiece and actually paste it onto my tombstone at whatever orientation I want. So let's just start out with one orientation, 0 degrees. Okay, so there it goes. It just plops onto my tombstone. Okay, if I hit OK, no reprogramming of the part whatsoever. If I go back to part view, which, oh, by the way, I can split the view. I can simulate while doing things in part view. I can tear this view off, put it on my split screen. I usually program with 2 screens. So no reprogramming of the part whatsoever. Okay, all we did was just change out the machine. Okay, and the part's been programmed. So ESPRIT automatically handles all of the links. Okay, it optimizes the order of operations due to varying or due to multiple things such as rotary angle, tool changes. Okay, location. Part's been programmed. Okay, so I can even move this around. Let's right mouse click copy that curve vise and paste it onto this tombstone. 90, 180, 270 around the tombstone. Okay, I can even move this vise up. Okay, I can move it up a couple inches in Y. Okay, I can move it a couple inches in Y. And again, no reprogramming of the part whatsoever. Your whole machine setup takes care of it for you. Okay, so we can see even for this facing toolpath You can see how it optimizes the order of operations. Tool change, okay, there's only a few tool changes for this 4 workpiece setup. Okay. Last but not least, I can even change it to a 5-axis mill. So let's put this guy on a 5-axis mill. We can see a nice little preview here of the machine. Okay, perfect. So let me open that up. Okay, so the machine's going to come into the programming session. There it is. And then let's go ahead and get rid of that tombstone. I can mount a fixture. I can mount a fixture in the form of, okay, a 5th axis pyramid adapter. There we go. Okay, 3 different orientations. Let's open that up. 3 different orientations. And let's mount another fixture. So I'm going to mount a fixture on a fixture. Okay, let's mount a self-centering vise. And then let's go ahead and mount my workpiece, okay? Oops. Let's go ahead and mount my workpiece, okay? So I can get this guy into position. I can even, let me go ahead and mask this whole machine. I can use our standard mating functions. Okay, so let me move this guy up. I can choose the face of these serrated jaws. I can hold down Control on my keyboard and choose the bottom of that stock of that workpiece and just align them. There's my Z. There's my Z translation. I can even make sure it's in the appropriate position by opening and closing the jaws. And then I can copy that vise and paste it a couple more times around the pyramid adapter. And again, no reprogramming of the part. The part view stays constant. Okay, ESPRIT is automatically going to handle all the offsets, all the rotary angles, okay, all the, optimizing the order of operations, the links for us. So this is our modeless machining platform.